when I look back and see how much I put up with before putting that no contact in place, there's a lot of shame. There's a lot of guilt. And there's a lot of should haves. And I think this is a common experience for many of us that grew up with toxic parents, narcissistic parents, emotionally immature parents, of why we didn't stand up for ourselves and maybe our families long before we actually found the strength to do so. And when I look at all these instances, and this is why I wanted to talk about plausible deniability before I talk about the actual danger of being like in contact with narcissistic parents or emotionally immature parents or toxic parents, doesn't really matter what you call them. It's the effect that their behavior has on you, your psyche, your life, and your well-being. But I wanted to talk about plausible deniability because that is one of the biggest power moves that they have. The whoops, or I didn't mean to, or some sort of reasonable explanation. And this is why we put up with it as long as we do, paired with that constant eroding of your value, your worth, and your identity. Because if you have a very toxic parent like that, your identity is all about them, even your tragedies, and most importantly, your successes. Who you are as a being is completely eradicated. And this was one of the most shocking things when I finally started to go to therapy and they looked me in the face at 37 years old and was like, do you realize you were brainwashed? And in that moment, I didn't, because that conditioning was so normal because of the plausible deniability and the eradication of my whole identity. So when you come to a place to exit from these toxic relationships, when you come to a place where you start finally, for once, choosing yourself, this is why we need to do the identity work, because you are more than this. You are more than this story. You are more than your background. You are more than your toxic parents. You're more than all of that. And when you start to get in touch with who you are behind the trauma, behind the anxiety that the trauma gave you, behind the limiting beliefs that you adopted in order to survive, then you start to fall in love with the most important person in your life, which is you. And that's how you start to make healthy, beautiful, life-giving decisions and choices for yourself. And that is how you start to choose you.